Goldcast Studios. I'm Jillian McCarthy, Field Marketing and Event Manager at Goldcast. Welcome to Event Marketers Live. If you're a veteran guest, you've seen the newsroom before, but if today's your first time, welcome. Before we head into our chat with Austin and Chloe, we wanted to go over some key insights that we've been seeing trending in our community. If you're not already a part of the Event Marketers Club, head over to the Docs tab to join. Some of the top trends we've been seeing in our community are recommendations for courses, training, and event certifications. Marketers are seeking resources to continue their learning and growth. Recommendations for vendors, everything from badge printers, trophy makers, and custom services. Members are sharing trusted sources for reliable vendors who can meet your specific requirements. Third on the list, tips on how to repurpose event content and make the most of it, including tools that make content both repurposing easier and more impactful. Marketers are learning how to amplify their message and reinforce key takeaways long after the event concludes. And lastly, conversations about how to set goals and how to report on performance post-event to leadership. I'm sure, like most of us know, setting clear and measurable goals is essential for evaluating the success of an event. And then afterwards, providing comprehensive reports to leadership enables them to assess the impacts and ROI. We hope that these insights were a helpful look into just some of the topics we chat about over in the community. The newsroom is here to update you as the industry continues to evolve. Now it's almost time to get started. Let us know you're here by dropping a comment in the chat. As always, we're giving away some pretty amazing prizes, so keep an eye out for those too. Now over to you, Belinda. Excited to hear more about Chloe and Austin and how they're approaching their 2024 event strategy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jillian. Hey, everybody. Welcome. I am your host today. My name is Belinda. I am the head of events here at Goldcast. And thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Event Marketers Live. Super excited to have some new friends, old friends come and joining me on stage shortly. It's going to be an awesome conversation. We have some amazing marketing professionals joining us. But before we jump in, I want to hear from you guys. I see we already have people chiming in the chat, letting us know where they're from. We got the Oscars this weekend, so a lot of buzz going on. So I definitely want to hear from you guys. Who do you think are going to be the top winners? I already saw that Oppenheimer is going to be on there. No doubt. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of wins for them. And of course, I'm a fan of Barbie, so I hope, fingers crossed there. But let us know what you guys think, or if you have any Oscar plans or parties that you're attending this weekend, let us know. A couple of announcements before we jump in. We always love a good raffle. So we are giving away two $50 Amazon gift cards for today's episode. So there are two ways that you can win. The first, throughout today's episode, you will see some poll questions popping up on your screen. So all you have to do is answer all three poll questions and submit a question in the Q&A tab, which is located to the right of your screen. By doing that, that will enter you into the raffle for the $50 gift card. The other way you can win is if you want to come up on stage and join us at live and ask a question. So all you have to do is click the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. We will bring you up on stage and you can ask one of our guest speakers a live question. So if you're feeling brave today, we do encourage you to submit a question in that way. And again, that will enter you into the raffle for the gift card. Now, some amazing announcements I want to share with you guys. We actually have some really awesome events coming up over the course of the next 2 weeks. So first things first, we have a new and exciting series that we're launching next week. It's all about the power of repurposing your video content, huge right now. The event is called Unlock the Full Potential of Your Video Content, a 4-day deep dive. So this will be a 4-day educational series, and we're going to be getting into all the practical tips and real life examples from some of our customers, some other thought leaders out there in the industry on how they're going about repurposing their marketing content and how you can basically help make your content live a little bit longer, way beyond the event itself. So this will kick off next week on March 12th, which is Tuesday, and run through Friday the 15th. So for full details on that, please do click the registration link. Jill is dropping that for you in the chat, and you guys can get some more details on that series and get yourself signed up for the sessions. Now, that is not all. We also have another mini series that we are launching in partnership with 6 Sense and Qualified. It's a new mini series called Coffee Corner. And I'm really excited for this one. This is going to be premiering in 2 weeks on March 20th. And the purpose of Coffee Corner is just for all of us to kind of sit down, debate, dissect, discuss really important topics, innovations, and strategies around demand gen, around events, content marketing, and so many more topics. And so if you guys are interested at all, we would love for you to join us. And if you are interested in registering for our first Coffee Corner episode, all you have to do is just click the button at the top of your screen where it says register for Coffee Corner, and we will sign you up. So with that, let's jump right in. Again, we have some really awesome guests joining us today, and I'm super excited to have on the stage. Please help me welcome Chloe Richardson and Austin Sandmeyer.
Hey.
Austin, hi. Chloe, hello.
Hello.
So good to see you both. Thank you for being here.
Likewise, excited to chat.
Yeah. Well, Austin, I know you are no stranger to the Goldcast stage, so I'm so happy to have you back, my friend, and to be talking with you today.
Yes.
We have some amazing stuff to talk about. So first things first, please, for anybody that may not know who you are, love for you guys to do a quick introduction. So Chloe, I will start with you.
All right. Thank you so much, Belinda. Hi, everybody. Lovely to meet you all. So as you probably saw from the chat, I am dialing in from sunny UK. So it's actually good evening from me over here. And I've been in the events industry for 16 years. So I've straddled marketing, B2C, trade shows, conferences, venue event management. And now I spend my day-to-day loudly championing the value and impact that corporate events bring, not just to their businesses, but to the world as a whole. So I'm currently VP Senior Corporate Relations with Explori, which is an event measurement organization. And I'm also Community Engagement Director with ELX, which is the Event Leaders Exchange. And it's great to be here.
Love it. Love it. Welcome, Chloe. Austin, over to you.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Excited to chat with you all again today. I am Austin Sandmeyer. I am calling in from weirdly very cloudy Salt Lake City. I can't even see the mountains right now. It's very just white. But calling in from Salt Lake City, I am head of growth and customer marketing at Sendoso. So I get to play on both sides of, growth and net new and customer marketing. And I get to play in all style of events. I've done events for over 8 years at this point, everything from intimate to large conferences and everything in between. So I am super excited to chat with you about all fun things.
So basically here, everybody, we have lots of knowledge and experience here on the stage. So definitely tap into that. If you have questions at all throughout today's webinar for Chloe or Austin, please drop that into the chat or the Q&A, and we will do our best to get to it. With that, you guys ready? We're going to jump into our first segment,
Let's do it.
Hacks and Hot Takes. All right. So I love this segment. As professionals, we're always looking for ways to be more productive and to help us get through our day to day. And we want to be very efficient in how we're doing our jobs. So Chloe, I'm actually going to start with you first. Personal productivity hack, anything that you do that helps you kind of get through your day to day tasks.
Yeah, and all the parents in the room are going to absolutely hate me. My one secret for productivity, which constantly keeps me alert, keeps me productive on a day-to-day, I aim to get 10 hours sleep a night, which honestly, I know. But when people ask me this, they say, how do you remain so alert? How do you have so much energy all the time? It's literally, I don't drink coffee. I just sleep. So that's my productivity hack.
Amazing. I love that. I mean, sleep is important. They say, right? 8 hours. I think that it's very important if you want to be able to function 100%. I think that's amazing. And we're going to have to talk because I need to learn more how to make that happen.
I am super impressed. I am not anywhere near that, I guess, type of hours. I'm struggling to get enough sleep, but that's amazing. I really love that. My personal productivity hack, I think I'm a project management fiend. I love project management tools. I have a personal project management tool. I have a work project management tool and everything in between. So I'm a massive project management tool person. So Todoist, Asana, Monday, all of them. I'm a big Jira fan as well because it gets me closer to product, which is a cheat code in marketing. And then I think one of the cool productivity things when it comes to all those task management ways is Google. Honestly, Google came out with like a moderately cool process for meetings and like notes and syncing that to your calendar. And so I'm a massive fan of just like using Google Calendar and just creating a meeting agenda off of it and like reoccurring. That has been like a cheat code for everybody. People have asked me about like, how do you keep agendas and stuff? And like, just attach it to the calendar, people. It's so easy. Otherwise you got 100 floating docs, and the worst, I don't know why, but like contractors or like agencies like to do this, but they like to make an individual document for every meeting, even when we have like a reoccurring weekly or monthly. It's like, how do I find these 20 documents you just made for me? It's impossible. So don't do that. Connect them. Make everything easy for everybody. That is my productivity hack, I guess.
Austin, you've stitched me up because now my one sounds really stupid. Like,
No,
you came with some actionable next
No,
steps.
yours is like good. Yours is good. I want more sleep. If you want, I mean, I heard no caffeine, which I am already decaf, so that's a plus. But I still have coffee, and there's a baby amount in there. So.
Exactly. Yeah, that's definitely. I think I already had 2 cups today, so I'm going to have to kind of wean myself off of that. I think that'll probably help. But no, I think Austin, I 100% agree there too. I think especially with meetings, right? Having that efficiency, going in, knowing what you're going to be talking about, having an agenda in place, having those meeting notes, right? And I'm also an advocate of, if we don't need to have a meeting, let's not have a meeting, right? If we can connect async on that. Another tip, right? If we can do this async, everybody's using Slack, take advantage of that, give people time back and let them use that time in other areas and be more productive. But definitely, if you guys have product management tools that you use, I know you mentioned Asana, we use Monday here, we used to use Monday, we use Notion. So definitely a lot of tools out there to kind of help you get through your day-to-day tasks. All right. Now let's kind of shift a little bit now into more of our marketing hot takes, because I think both of you have some amazing things that you're doing within each of your organizations. And so Chloe, I want to start with you because obviously working for Explori, providing a tool that is very valuable for event marketers like us, right? We live off of the data, right? We need to be able to show constant value of our events. And so, as, being able a provider of a tool that can allow you to collect insights, allows you to collect that attendee feedback, I imagine you probably have a lot of great tips to share in terms of why this data is so important and how it can be used.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely, Belinda. And please allow me to start kind of from the beginning on this, because I find it really sometimes mind-blowing with a case to be made for things like brand exposure, lead generation, increased customer loyalty, real-time engagement opportunities, employee retention. It, for many of us on the call probably today, seems like a no-brainer that our stakeholders love events and their impact on the entire business. But it is never that simple. And I've pulled a few stats out. I hope you don't mind. According to a CWT study from last year, it was estimated that the cost per attendee for meetings and events was 25% higher in 2022 than it was in 2019. And it was another 7% higher by the end of last year. So there's less obvious ways to track and measure the impact that our events have on the wider marketing strategy. And obviously, as a result, event spend is certainly under greater business scrutiny. On average, it makes for about a third of our total marketing budget allocation across the entire business. So it shouldn't really be a surprise that senior leadership are really asking us now to fight for our budget as they're tightening the purse strings. And if we don't put money into events, we're missing a huge opportunity. So my philosophy that I want to share with everybody on this session today is that having to defend our event budgets to our leadership is solely down to one thing, and that's that they don't see the value in the events. So the question is, and to your point, Belinda, how can we collect the right data to make them see? What you have to do is build the right event measurement strategy all around this idea of sentiment data and feedback. That really needs to be at its core. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to explain a little bit more about what sentiment data is, because sometimes it seems a lot more complicated than it really is. So the right event measurement strategy is consistent, it's standardized, it's clearly defined, and it looks at both individual events and an entire events channel as a whole. If you're not demonstrating the performance of your events program in a language that your stakeholders understand or appreciate, then of course, events are going to be seen as a whimsical, expensive detail that just doesn't deliver enough ROI. And if I were a CFO and my marketing team weren't presenting back to me clear analytics on how an event has impacted the wider business objectives, where other digital marketing channels have really easy, tangible insights and accessible dashboards, I too would probably struggle to ascertain value and logically would want to stop pumping budget into this function I didn't really understand. So the best practice way to measure your events and present this back to the business is data, because data equals business insights. And without data, you can't benchmark, you can't analyze year-on-year trends, you can't be proactive in your measurement or strategic in your planning. There are 3 core data pillars that every robust measurement strategy should be collecting to prove event insight and impact. First of all, demographics. So we'll know what that is, the who's attending your event, their job titles, company names, blah, blah, blah. Next, you've got engagement data. So what people are doing at your event, where they went, who they visited, how they chose to engage. We're also starting to see some more interesting engagement data tools coming out, like facial recognition and in-person heat mapping. But number 3 is your sentiment data. And this is the real strategic, powerful data type, because this is generally collected through post-event feedback, but it really holds the key to understanding the true value of your events channel, because it allows you to understand the thoughts, the feelings, the perceptions, the behaviors, the attitude of your attendees. And it's much bigger than CSAT and NPS, which I'm guessing most of you in the chat are already measuring to a certain extent. But the best strategic sentiment data tells us why people did what they did, and most importantly, what they intend on doing in the future. So it tells us how that individual event has influenced the way that attendee will behave. So obviously, depending on your event objectives, this will be able to give you robust metrics that can link an event to increased employee productivity because of a sales kickoff, or you can link an event to propensity to purchase if you're surveying new leads whilst exhibiting at a trade show, or you can link an event to directly making current customers want to spend more with your business because of a client conference they just attended. So just to kind of wrap it all up and summarize, sentiment data is really the missing link that we see across huge corporate event programs. And it shouldn't be, because it elevates all the other data points that we're probably already collecting, allowing you to truly quantify event impact. And it's a level of insight that you can't get through demographic and engagement data, because what can you do with that once you've got it? Okay, great, we had X% of women at our event. What does that tell us? That's not going to tell us if they're going to buy from us in the future. That's not going to tell us if they like our brand more and they're going to tell their friends about it. It tells us absolutely nothing at all. So my argument will be, why are we even asking the question? And so back to that initial stat I talked through on increasing costs and budgets having more scrutiny. If we can show the business through sentiment data how our events are impacting the behavior of our customers, our employees, and our prospects in a language they understand, we don't need to keep arguing with them to defend our spend anymore, because they'll get it, they'll value events, and it will be a critical part of our marketing strategy for the whole business. And I'm done.
No.
Sorry.
Mic's drop. Yes.
I just want to tell everyone in the chat, I warned Austin and Belinda I was going to go on a rant about this. So
I can go now.
Sorry, I'm going to be quiet.
Incredible.
That was amazing, Chloe. No, thank you for that. I think you were spot on. You can see here in the chat, everybody's like, yes, what? Yeah, 100% agree.
Yes.
You know, and you know, to your point, right? It is about having that information, understanding their intent. You know, it goes beyond just the event itself, right? And how you can apply that information across all of your marketing programs and all of your marketing channels. And again, to your point, relating it back to how it's going to impact the business, right? So super smart. And I think that is a very helpful tip. And I think, you know, and also it's going to help you also really focus your time in the right area, so that you're not going after the people who may not even be ready to talk to you or to, you know, have a demo, but going after the people who are really truly ready and who are ready to sit down.
That's so important. And actually sometimes it ends up that people are investing millions in customer facing events, and then they're doing some really proper strategic sentiment data analysis, and they're realizing that actually 90% of the people attending that event are going out and saying negative things about the brand. So the growth of the brand is suffering because of this event. So stop spending all that money, put it somewhere else where your events are performing really well. And it's just about being more strategic and looking at your program holistically rather than kind of in silo, which is hard when you're running events because there are so many going on. Oh, I said I wasn't going to talk anymore and I started. No, I promise now. Austin, speak, please.
No, you're good. I love it. I'm eating up. I'm already starting to take notes on the side, so you're good.
No, there is plenty more to talk about. We got plenty of time. So Chloe, this is great. I love it. But Austin, yes, we definitely want to hear from you in terms of, kind of your marketing hot take. And as someone who is, very much responsible for bringing in net new business, we've talked about this, right? How it's becoming harder, right? And we're talking about how the market is right now. And to the point of Chloe's point, the purse strings are getting tightened. Folks are not, wanting to go out and buy more tools. They're actually wanting to consolidate tools. So as someone who is responsible for bringing in, new pipeline and new business, we're starting to see organizations shift the focus more to customer retention and expansion. So, you as the head of growth and customer marketing, how are you, kind of going against that challenge? How are you making decisions on where to focus your time?
Yeah, I think, when it comes down to, I have a pretty fun role, in my opinion. I get to play in growth, which is net new. And then I get to play in customers, which is how do I make our amazing customers even more successful, expand them, make sure that they're super happy and want to be customers for life with us. And I think one of the things, my marketing hot take is just customers have been so deprioritized for so long, and they've been deprioritized from, in my opinion, from my events, my old events that I used to run. I didn't think about customers, didn't incorporate them. And from tech stacks, when you think about tech stacks and you think about your CRM, you think about your stuff, a lot of those, innovations over the past few years have all been about, how do I get more leads into here? How do I get more of net new into this process? Let's go find more LinkedIn ads to find more people. But when it comes down to it today, it's where is the customer? And the customer is, as the economic winds have changed a little bit, the customers become even more prioritized, because that is the person that you need for your business today to stay strong. And then that is a potential opportunity to leapfrog and get a really big expansion off of it and get more value out of them, because in today's economic climate, nobody wants to be churning customers and turning away customers. And so I think in that vein, a lot of our stuff has switched from, how do I get more into the top of, net new pipeline that is cold. I don't know them. I'm going to need to warm them up. I'm going to need to nurture them, to okay, I have a customer and I'm in one segment or one part of it. How do I expand? How do I go inside of that and really expand that company and expand that use case and make them even stickier? And that's where I'm seeing the real value. And I think a lot of people are seeing value in where they're able to get, quick wins, because when you take a step back and look at it, it's okay, there, I can get all of the amazing intent data. I can get all of this great stuff and about these net new accounts that I've never heard of. They hit our ICP. They've been on our website a few times. They are, supposedly searching things from intent scores. Okay, that's cool, but I still don't know them. I know nothing about them. They haven't purchased our product. They've never had a conversation with a sales rep to date. But I have all of these customers that probably could be expanded, could be used more, could be better users of our product, more expansion into new customers, new segments, new departments. I know them. I know that, John Smith, that is our current champion, is friends with Riley over there in the other department. And you have so much more data. My shift has really been focusing on how do we use that data to take our customers and expand upon them and continue to make them stickier, and then use them from events perspective to digital ads to everywhere, because the world it's so much easier to expand and, make a customer bigger with someone you actually know them. You have a CSM that's meeting with them on a reoccurring basis versus, John Smith at X company that, visited our website 2 times and, has been reached out 40 times by a BDR. You don't know anything about John Smith. He's going to come into that meeting and be very cold. So one of my big marketing hot takes has been shifting a lot of our focus and our budget and our direction on prioritizing our customers from an event perspective, from a digital perspective, and just a kind of across the entire gamut. From an event perspective, that talks about how do we think about customer communities? How do we think about customer events? How do we think about bringing our customers together so that they can sell and, talk to each other about how to be best in class? Just a couple of weeks ago, we actually had an event at B2BMX. We had a real retreat. And we had customers there and prospects there, customers there, all intermingling. And one of the coolest things that I got to walk away and I got to overhear and see was one of our customers talking to another customer about how to use us more and think about this and do that thing. And like the value that was unlocked from just that 15-20 minute conversation in person was just astronomical. Like we unlocked a whole new segment of conversation for that account and that account team. So it was pretty awesome. So seeing that is just kind of revolutionary in my eye, because it's the ability to bring, the warmer prospects together and your customers that have expanded.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I always say, I always love an organization that puts their customer first, because really there is no business without them. And I think, even just with the events, and I love that about events, right? It's such a great opportunity to have that FaceTime that you probably normally wouldn't have, really just having that conversation, understanding their pains, understanding their needs, right? And again, this is a benefit back to the business, right? This is input that you can take to help improve the product. They can help direct your product roadmap. And, and again, like, for marketing, how you're messaging to people, and, what are some of those common use cases and challenges that you want to be able to meet. And you can get all of that information from your customers. And, and to your last point there too, about having, your warm prospects and your customers in the room, right? There's nothing like having your customers sell it for you, right? They don't
pull the salesperson out. They don't need to be there. Like your customer's selling.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Exactly. And you got to, and if you want a good review from the customer, you got to get them, make sure they're happy. And you got to take care of them. So
I love it.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I want to have us move into the next. I know we had a couple of questions. I think actually, Chloe, I think you already went in and answered those questions that folks had about the sentiment data. So thank you.
Enthusiasm. Can't hold me back.
Love it. So yes, please guys, continue to submit questions. If we can't answer them live here, we'll definitely try to do it at least through the texting here, the messaging. So we're going to go ahead and jump into my next favorite segment, which is Dear Goldcast.
Ooh.
Dear Goldcast, as our industry progresses, it's becoming increasingly clear that attendee empowerment is key to event success. The shift towards allowing individuals to choose how they participate, whether in person or virtually, seems crucial. I've been reading about the importance of accessibility and neurodiversity in event planning, especially in 2024. With expectations rising for organizers prioritizing inclusivity, could you share some practical tips or strategies for ensuring events are welcoming and accessible to everyone? How can we effectively implement alternate learning formats for neurodiverse populations? Looking forward to your insights, a marketer striving to create events for everyone.
Awesome. Now, great question, right? Great letter. I think, we hear a lot about how we need to kind of lead with the attendee experience first, right? That kind of needs to be by priority as you're kind of creating and producing your events. And yes, it is important, I agree, to be able to, meet the needs and adapt to the needs of your attendees. But that's also a bit of a challenge to the point of the letter here, right? How do you go about doing that? And how can you make sure that you are able to tap into the different learning styles and formats that people may need in order for them to kind of retain information? So Chloe, I'm actually going to throw this your way first. I'm wondering, can sentiment data help with this? How can we help tailor experiences?
I do want to say this is a really interesting one, and I hadn't seen this before. I don't know, Belinda, if you sent this to us, but I haven't seen it. And I'm actually wearing my, I don't know if you can see it. This is my neurodiversity badge.
Oh my goodness,
so
really?
Google launched a project in October 2022 called the New Project, NEU, if anyone wants to look it up. And it was all about events being more inclusive for neurodiverse communities, not just diversities that you can see, but obviously diversities that for many of us go on inside our heads. So it was anyone with autism or ADHD and a different variety of neurodiversities. And what they started to do is release like really lovely badges and things to show people that you understand and that people can connect with you and you feel open for speaking. And some of the badges show you your kind of social battery as well, which I think is really nice. And so the more communities and the more event folk that start talking about that is a really great project. And I'd recommend anyone to go and have a look at it and download all their resources. But one thing that I've seen in particular, and I can't believe this is still the case, at events, we are still holding panels that are long and not audience inclusive. So for me, it's easy. If we want to be inclusive, include our attendees. And this is imperative when we're talking about content. Just like we've got here, we're all virtual, we're all sitting in different corners of the world, but we're constantly engaging with the chat, we're answering questions, we're relaying things back to what we're seeing live in real time. And actually, we're not doing that in in-person events. The amount of times I've sat there for 45 minutes watching a old, stale panel talk about how we need to be more engaging in our panels, and they don't even see the irony in what they're doing. And that drives me crazy. And so what I think we need to do, especially as Gen Z is starting to become a more prominent percentage of the workforce, we need to have punchier sessions. Now, I will never do any session that's more than 15 minutes long. It needs to have a variety of formats. So here's my top 5 tips. Interview other members, ask people in the audience what they think. You need to make the audience feel like they're contributing so that they feel more included and more engaged. And that is probably my main content tip. Contribution is king more than content is king.
I love that. That is amazing. You are way over my level in this one, Chloe. Like, you have so much more to bring to this table for that. The one thing that I'm going to bring is that, like, as I think about my org and as I think about events and how we kind of go part of it. I don't know what that was. But as we go forward, I try to think, and I usually partner with a team at our company called Customer Education. They are like the people that sit and teach our customers how to use our product, and they do it in so many amazing ways. They are like trained teachers. Many of them are previous teachers, so they have understanding of how to use different learning styles and how to adjust them for different people. And so in that vein, I try to partner with them to get their insights into how things can work and how things can function, because usually I am probably that person that's sitting in that boring, stale panel, just like, okay, this is boring and stale, but like, okay, I'll still do it type situation, which is not the way I want moving forward. So I have to bring people from the outside in to give me insight and visibility into better ways to do stuff, which I think is one of the big unlocks for me, is being able to partner with my customer education team to think about how we can do this more fun. And we've really stopped, like, I mentioned the Real Retreat last week, but we kind of stopped moving to boring, stale panels and like stuff like that. And we're much more in, like, hot topic conversations and like coffee chats. So we are very in like different, bringing people together in different introverted and extroverted ways so that they can have the right environment that they want to be with. Maybe they want to talk one-on-one with someone. Maybe they want to talk on a panel with, 20, 30 people in the audience and every more. So we started to like really have those conversations both with speakers as well as attendees, of like making sure that we have a variety of different engagement opportunities for them that are kind of along the same topic lines.
And actually, can I just add, sorry, Austin, you said I probably should have said, because it is actually fundamentally all about what your attendees want. And if you don't ask them, you will never know. And one thing as well, asking them anecdotally, but you also, again, want to have the robust metrics to prove it. So you want to say, this is what they asked for. And then you want to close that feedback loop by telling them next year, this is what we did because you asked us to. And a lot of the time we do deliver and execute on what we've learned from feedback, but we don't tell anyone about it, which is so silly. It's such like a weird societal taboo. We should tell everyone, shout it from the rooftops. We changed this because you told us to. We're not proud. We're here to serve you, our attendees. And so listen to what they're saying, make sure you actually act on it, and then make sure you communicate that you've acted on it as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I 100% agree with all of that. And I feel like, bringing this up, COVID changed things, right? And, event organizers cannot think the same way that they did prior to COVID, right? I mean, the attendee expectation is so different now. And even just as I'm listening to you guys talk about this, I'm like, in a way, I almost feel that for these in-person events, like panel format and so forth, I almost think like you kind of maybe need to think about it like a virtual event, because we were kind of forced, right, to be very creative and different in how we were doing digital events throughout COVID, because there was just so much noise out there, and we needed to find a way to keep people engaged, to have them show up to your virtual events, right? And it made us start thinking outside the box, different types of formats, right? And and how can we get rid of PowerPoints, do more authentic conversations, and, maybe no more panel discussions, or maybe it's just like 10-minute, how to kind of a session instead, right? There's just so many different things that we've had to do in the virtual space So maybe like taking a step back and thinking like, okay, maybe we need to apply some of those tactics to an actual in-person event and how we can, again, incorporate those different formats. So.
Yes, 100%. I said in the chat, I actually hate PowerPoints. I literally, it was like, when Belinda was like, do you want to be on this? I was like, yeah, as long as I don't have to make any slides, like no slides, please. Then I can do something.
Exactly.
One thing I always say as well with content is whether you're 5 minutes or 45 minutes in your session, make sure the audience has at least one actionable takeaway that they can go and do tomorrow. So it's made it worth their while, because that's where people are going to get value. Just one tiny thing. Even if I've said one thing today that makes somebody think, I'm going to stop asking for gender in my registration, then great. I'll be happy with that.
Yeah. I think the takeaways for sure. I mean, I think, even just when we do our promotions for events, right? That's immediately what we're leading with. Like, this is what you're going to walk away with. And this is something you can take and apply to your job the next day. I think that should 100% be the focus. Absolutely. If they need value, right? And that's what's really going to help them. So we have time now to get into our final segment. So we're going to shift gears now. And this is going to be about working with sales. So this is a topic that comes up very often. There's always the question about, how can we get sales on board with our events? How do we get their support? And I think, not only sales, right? I think it goes across the board. I think, all of your go-to-market teams, right? We all need to kind of work together in unison. Again, this is all about getting back to the business and making sure that we are able to produce a successful program, a successful event, right? Because this is for all of us, not just for marketing, not just for sales. So Austin, I know obviously your teams work very closely together. What have you found to kind of be a really effective tool to make sure that both teams are aligned and you're getting the support that you need for, especially for all the customer events that you have planned?
Yeah, I think when it comes down to the end of the day, everything is about how close you can be with each other. And you want to be as lock and key together as you move forward. And so what that usually comes back to is where do we start? Where do we have these conversations? Even when we're thinking about events and thinking about what we might want from an event, we're thinking about okay, we want, to involve sales. We want to involve customers. If we involve customers, do we want to have customer stories as some takeaways? What are those customer stories we want? How do we format and get the event to be the direction that we want? So even in the early concepts of what we are thinking from an event perspective, we're trying to bring in our stakeholders from sales and marketing and CX and even product to kind of come in and understand okay, cool, at this event, this is kind of the idea that we're thinking, and then having a robust conversation around what is best practices, what is the thoughts that you might have. There's obviously tactical things that you have to be doing to keep everything on the track, because an event can easily go to the left and the right, wherever it wants to go, but keeping the rails on the train on the track is one of the bigger challenges. And that comes down to really close alignment in briefings. So I'm assuming everybody in the audience and everybody moving forward has some forms of event briefings that is a 30-second executive overview of the event. What's going on, when's happening, what is the actions, what is the asks, why is the ask occurring from this org or from this person or for this thing. Those are pretty massive and what you kind of need to have. So briefing is a really big thing. We have a general workbook that we have for each one of our events and each one of our concepts, which is diving into all of the nitty gritties: who's attending, why they're attending, what's the schedule, when is going to be. And we want to make this as open and transparent as possible. Everybody should have access to all of these documents. They should be in a Slack channel, a Teams channel, a Google Calendar invite, a Drive folder, and making sure that everybody's kind of aligned. What typically happens in my world of kind of events is just, you go to the next one, you go into the next one, you got the next one, and you got to keep going. And so, you duplicate the workbook and people go into and they're like, oh, this looks like old. And so what I recommend doing for people is just keeping people on the track is duplicate it. Everybody doesn't have time right then to update all the new information for all of the new workbooks. And, now we're at this location and this hotel and this thing, and just mark it all as yellow and say, if it's yellow, that is still in conversation. We're still working on it. And we'll get you an answer and we'll kind of collaborate together. So I think that is one way that we collaborate really closely with sales, is like, if it's yellow in our workbooks or in our projects or in our calendars, like that is still up for discussion and still needs to be done. But everything that's not yellow or is core, normal font color black, is moving forward. These are the things we need help with. And, you have multiple meetings as you move forward. And then showcasing like the ROI on the back end is like giving overview, showing why we're doing this. Where are these leads going to appear? Where is the reporting for these meetings going to appear? Showing that all is one of the big things that I do in our workbooks and in our project management tools as we move forward with the events, to collaborate and like bring us really close with sales. I think there's barely an hour that goes by that I'm working that I don't have a communication with sales. So it's very often. I think like keeping a very open communication line is critical in as many ways as possible.
Yeah. And where are you hosting, like where the playbook, like where are you posting this in a centralized location for them? Is it Slack?
Yeah.
Like, is it just constant?
So we have Slack. So everything's kind of in Slack. We have weekly meetings as we go through the event. We typically start 6 to 7 weeks out if we can. So we have our calendar invites that go weekly reoccurrings with the people that are attending or the people that need to be involved as they start and narrow it down. And inside of that, each calendar invite has all of the documents, the Slack channel they need to go to, and the outcome for that meeting. So as you move forward, you have different things, booking travel, you have inviting, you have confirming invites, you have different, and then you have the reporting, you have the postmortem, you have the other things as you move out of the event as well. And so each one of those weeklies has an agenda as well as a description, which brings us back to that Slack community where everything is kind of pinned to make sure everybody knows where they're going.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, Chloe, I know you don't necessarily work with sales within your organization, but I mean, just in terms of having to work cross-functionally, right? That's like aligning groups.
To be honest, a lot of our clients and friends and colleagues in the industry do have, particularly those that run exhibits and trade show participation, they have quite a struggle because it always seems like they say things like sales want to go to this trade show for us to exhibit here, but they just want to do that because we've always been there or because it's got quite a nice bar that they like to drink at on the second night. And so what we've been doing is we've been working on a tool called Maxby, which measures exhibit measurements specifically and exhibit performance. But the reason why I bring it up is to some of Austin's points there. What it does is it has one central repository where all the data from that exhibit, not just leads is just 1/7 of the data that you should be collecting on site at an exhibit. But what it does is it feeds it all into one place. So you've got one dashboard that presents all of this objective KPI data so that everyone can access that. And it makes every department accountable for their individual area, which works really nicely. So I'd suggest having some sort of centralized system like that. But secondly, as well, Austin mentioned getting them involved in the process pre-event. Absolutely. That's literally the note that I'd written down, Austin. You stole my thunder. But I did want to add one quick thing. So what I would recommend is that every single program and every single individual event should have an event mission statement that every stakeholder signs off on. And as part of that, you want to sign off what would make this event a success to us and our department, and have really quantifiable KPIs, no more than 3 per department. But if everyone comes together and signs those KPIs off in advance of the event, you can then revisit it post-show and say, okay, what did we hear? What didn't we hear? And it's not vague stuff like we made a difference, we were impactful, we got good feedback on our da-da-da. No, they need to be really quantifiable. We want real, hard, cold data here. And if you're able to do that, everybody feels like they were involved in the process. And again, it goes back to attendees feeling like they've contributed. If you leave sales teams out in the dark, they're going to butt heads with you. Whereas if they feel like they're an integral part of the process, you're more likely going to see collaborative, positive results. So yeah, to Austin's point, absolutely bring them in at the beginning, set those pre-event objectives, get that mission statement down, get those really core, clear outcomes defined, sign it off, and then have one central repository where all that data feeds into to make different teams accountable for their own data.
Absolutely. That's great. Well, Austin, Chloe, I know we're down to the last 2 minutes. This went by so fast. I think we could definitely go on for another hour or so. This has been so amazing and so much fun. Any just 30 seconds or less, any final notes to our group as far as any one thing to take away from today's discussion?
Ooh. Shall I go first, Austin, or do you want to?
I go first. I think for my big takeaway for everybody is just aligning around customers. I think there's an untapped world for customers in customer events and customer marketing that can really unlock a lot of your net new pipeline challenges. Oftentimes you need to bring this up, but like bringing this up and talking about, you have net new challenges and you need to hit X number. How can we potentially hit that number by looking at what our customer base could do and having a real conversation about the potential there, and then incorporating customers into any fold at any event and kind of having a place in a channel and an avenue for them, I think is critical. So I think that's my big takeaway.
Amazing.
Great. And so for me, I think it would just be, we're seeing so many teams getting cut. We're seeing so many events getting wiped. We're seeing so many heads of event marketing fighting to keep budgets and resources. And again, the fundamental issue is stakeholders don't see the value. So what you need to do is find a way to measure your events effectively in a language that the business understands. So you can demonstrate impact, demonstrate value, and protect and stabilize our entire industry for the future. Because if we don't find a way to do this together, we're not going to be sustainable. And when the carbon footprint and carbon budget questions come along, if we're not ready with the right robust metrics to really show the business that we are impactful, we're going to be the low-hanging fruit. So we just need to get ready, get it in place. It's easy if you know how. So that would be my final, bit of a depressing one, actually. I didn't mean to be so negative.
No.
But yeah, collect data. There we go.
Not at all. Thank you both again so much. Such amazing insights. And thank you to everybody for staying with us and for all the comments and the awesome questions. If we didn't get to your question, obviously we will make sure we do that afterwards. But please enjoy the rest of your day. Austin, Chloe, thank you so much. It's been a fun time.
Linda.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Bye.